Hi, my name is Soumya Kapoor. I am from the Aria Operations product team, and today I'll be talking about chargeback capabilities using Aria Operations. Now, the agenda for today's session will be a brief of VCF components and how Aria Operations and chargeback fits into the picture, chargeback support in Aria Operations, chargeback for VCD and the entire history of it, and what is new in VCD chargeback. That will be followed by a demonstration of not just VCD chargeback, but also certain chargeback capabilities that you can use for your vCenter, VRA, Horizon, and business apps. Now, the VMware Cloud Foundation, often referred to as VCF, is a comprehensive solution for SDDC management, as shown on the display. It features several integral components, including Aria, which encompasses operations, network insights, and automation. Operationally speaking, precise metering and evidence-based chargeback and billing are critical to service providers and even enterprises that rely on accurate customer billing or chargeback. Now, Aria Operations supports both cost and price for VMs. Now, just to understand the difference between cost and price or showback and chargeback, cost is how much you spend on the infrastructure to run a VM, and showback is a report based on the cost that you use to show management or internal departments on how much their VMs cost to run. Price, however, is how much you want to charge the owner of the VM to run their VM. This is typically used by customers who provide infrastructure as a service to their application teams or by service providers who want to bill their tenants. Price can be based on cost or allocation with additional prices added basis the additional services you provide them. And chargeback is a report based on prices, which you present to the user as a bill. Now, in Aria Operations, you're able to do chargeback across multiple management layers. For example, if you're a service provider or an enterprise following the infrastructure as a service model and using VCD, we allow you to do chargeback for the VCD constructs like org or VDC, VApp, VM, etc. Similarly, if you're just using vSphere and vCenter constructs like VMs, clusters, vCenter, etc., you can define and assign rate cards accordingly and perform chargeback. Likewise, you can build rate cards or policies for Aria automation projects and do a chargeback for projects and deployments. In the end, because we already have VM prices available for vCenter deployments, you can also see chargeback for Horizon constructs like VDI pools, RDS farms, users, connection servers, etc., and also for your business apps and tiers. Now, many of you would be aware of the VMware Chargeback that was formerly known as Tenant app. The product offered you many capabilities to manage your VCD operations like multi-tenant based metering, pricing, costing, and billing capabilities alongside alerts, notifications, dashboards, etc. to keep an eye on everything in your environment. Now, while this makes for a great value add for your operations, Chargeback being a standalone product may at times come with its limitations when it comes to scalability, flexibility on onboarding, upgrade procedures, not to mention that along with VCD and Aria Operations, there's always a third product in the mix that is called Chargeback. Now, we have made attempts to solve for this problem, and we have tried to bring all the chargeback capabilities and make them native to Aria Operations so that you don't have to have a third product, and everything that comes as a challenge in terms of architecture scalability is all addressed within Aria Operations. Now, here is a sneak peek of what the launchpad will look like. There'll be a VCD infrastructure tile leading to all the chargeback capabilities. This will allow you to configure all the integrations like VCD, NSX, vCenter, etc. Enable or disable pages and metrics for your tenants, set up tenant emails and outbounds for alerts, notifications, reports. In provider layer, you'll be able to configure and assign pricing policies to your tenants. In pricing policies, you can define a custom base rate for the services you provide that range from CPU, memory, storage to guest OS, Cloudian storage, even your Tanzu and CSE Kubernetes services, and much more. Then you can generate and schedule bills on top of them to present to your tenants. You can also configure alerts and notifications as well as reports for them. In the end, you have a consumer layer that takes you to a chargeback overview page, which in turn will direct you to many meaningful dashboards that have all the information on your tenant's capacity, cost, and price. Similarly, you can also be directed to the sovereign cloud compliance page to keep yourself aware on any compliance alerts. Now, let us talk about the launch points. The access channels for operations will be as follows. The service provider can directly access all the VCD operations within Aria Operations through VCD tile in the Launchpad. A tenant, however, will continue to use it through the Operations Manager plugin within VCD that can be enabled by a service provider from VCD itself. Now, here is what the tenant view will look like. The home page is very similar to Aria Operations Launchpad, but the capabilities will be limited to the tenants. Here you can also have a brand new variant of metric selector, that is a variant of Aria Operations object browser that allows you to quickly navigate through metrics. Additionally, there is access to your bills, dashboards, alerts, and reports. Now, let us look at the product combinations that are supported in VCD Chargeback before we jump into the demo. So here you can see Aria Operations on-prem will work with VCD on-prem. Aria Operations SaaS will also work with VCD on-prem. Aria Operations SaaS will also work with CDS. So these are the three combinations of the products that are supported with the latest releases. Now, we will quickly jump onto the demo and talk about how the chargeback actually looks in the product itself. Now, let us talk about chargeback for VCD provider operations. Now, let's see here. In the home, we see a tile for VMware Cloud Director. All the chargeback capabilities, which were previously a part of Tenant app or VMware Chargeback, as you know it, are now available under this Launchpad, that is the VMware Cloud Director infrastructure page. You can start with all the configuration capabilities, starting with integration. You can get the details on what this is about. You can learn more. There'll be videos and integration details. You can go onto the capability directly and do integrations like vCenter, even VMware Cloud Director, as well as NSX, Cloud Director availability. All those integrations are available here. You can put your credentials and get yourself started. Now, going to chargeback settings, what is this meant for? This is for you as a service provider to allow your customer or your tenant to see certain pages or see certain metrics, or enable or disable these for your tenants, and even define the bill data retention for your bills. Again, you can see the details in the Learn More section. You can go to the capability here. This will allow you to, say, for example, select that at an org VDC level, I want to enable or disable certain metrics. Here, everything is activated. I can deactivate the metric, which means my tenant will not be able to see this metric. Likewise, I can do the same thing for certain pages, which refer to overall overview page, org VDC, VApps, VMs, overview pages, bills, metrics, alerts, reports, as well as I can, at a high level, enable or disable that whether or not I want my customer or my tenant to see the original price or the price values that are calculated for the bills, because there could be cases wherein I am using an external billing system and don't want them to see the prices that are calculated. Then there is storage pricing settings. There is data retention settings, so you can set up the number of days to retain the generated bills. All these are available in the chargeback settings. Now, going back, we have email configuration. So email configuration allows me to define the tenant users and set up their emails for eventually sending the alerts, reports, notifications to them. So I can go here. I can see that a lot of emails are configured over here. I can select a particular org, go to configure. I can see that there is this one email that is already configured. But if I want to edit this over here, I can edit the email. I can even edit the email outbound if I want to change that as well. Now there are outbound settings. So I can define the email outbounds for sending alerts and reports from here. So I can see these are the outbounds that are defined. This is the email outbound, that is the standard email plugin that we define usually for any chargeback related email outbounds. So once you enter your details, your outbound will be configured. Then after that, there is the entire set of capabilities that define a provider's view, starting with defining a pricing policy or a rate card that will help generate the bills basis the per unit charge setup for each kind of parameter. So let us see how we can define it. I can go to pricing policy definition. I can say that this is pricing for tenant 1, and I can inherit from some other policy or let it be default policy for now. And I can go to VCD pricing. Now over here, I can define compute rate. Default rate could be per CPU count. I can say $20 per CPU count or per vCPU count, or I can also do a CPU gigahertz based charging. So per gigahertz, I want to charge $10 per CPU gigahertz. I can charge for storage, network, advanced network, cloud director availability, and many other parameters that exist. I can also charge at org level for cloud and storage if I want to do that. Once I have done this, I can save the pricing policy. Now going back to home, I'll go back here quickly. I'll talk about how do I assign this pricing policy, which means which tenant will this pricing policy be applied to. So I can go to the assignment page. The newly created policies are available in the inactive section of the policies. You can select from here. And I can look for the policy that I had just created. Tenant 1. Sorry. This is the pricing policy I created for tenant 1. Now I can look for the orgs or org VDCs that are assigned to the pricing policy or vice versa. I can go to VCD world. This is my particular org. For example, I want to select a particular org. This is the org, or I can also select an org VDC. So I assign this org VDC to this particular policy. Or I can also do it at an org level. Now this policy has now moved to the active policies. I can see it over here. And now my policy has been assigned. Now going back, the next capability is billing. Now I can schedule and generate the bills for my tenants from here. I can go to view. I can either directly generate a bill, say on demand bill for tenant 1. Tenant 1, give it a description. Yes, bill. Start date, I can give from the 1st of this month to, or rather I can start it a little less longer ago, from then to today. So it's a 2-day period that I'm looking at. I can click next. I can select the objects. for bills. So I say I want to generate bills for this particular OVDC. I can either generate bills for all OVDC, multiple OVDCs at a time or multiple logs at a time, but not both. So I select OVDC this, then OVDC this, and I create bills. So these bills are now created. I can have a look at the bill once they are created. The bill details will be available here. Another thing that I can do is I can schedule the bills. So it takes me to Automation Central. I can create a job name as monthly schedule, and next. I can select the objects. I want a monthly schedule for this org VDC, or let's try org for now. I want to do a monthly billing for this org and this org and this org, for example. Next. And I can do a monthly billing starting 1 p.m., run every month on 28th. Good, no. And bill start day is 1st of previous month, bill end day is 1st of current month. Good, create. And my bill schedule is created over here. Now, the next thing that I can also do is I can configure notification rules and share them with the tenants. The notifications with the tenant. So I can add a notification rule. I can say notification standard set. I go next. I can say this. I want to do it for this OVDC, then I want to do it for this OVDC. Now let's stick to one for now. And next, I can select certain alert definitions. These are some of the alerts that I want to share with my tenants whenever any of these alerts are triggered. When an organization is deactivated, OVDC has been modified, and so on and so forth. And I can create a notification rule. And once this rule is created, every time one of these notifications is triggered, your tenant will receive an alert against them. Likewise, I can do it for reports. So I can already see there are some VCD reports over here. So either I can run a report, or schedule a report. Let us try and run a report. So if there is a report over here, I can run this either for myself or even for the tenants. I'll run it for myself for now. Let us select the objects we want to run this report for. Let's run a more elaborate report. Let's run this. vCloud director adapter. Let us select organizations. For say this org. Okay. Now, while this report is running, we'll have to wait a few seconds. And the report will be generated. So this is the report that is generated. I can have a look at this report. I can say, for example, get a CSV or a PDF download and have a look at this. Yes, so here is the report that we have downloaded. Now, let us look back at the remaining capabilities. that are, for example, VCD chargeback reporting or VCD chargeback dashboard. I go here, I see a summary view of the number of organizations, OVDCs, VApps, VMs that are available. Each of these have a corresponding dashboard that gives you the details of CPU memory storage consumption, the associated cost, and the price. Let us start with org level. So for example, here is a very high level org overview. So this is the ongoing price and the total cost of ownership, both month to date, and how many OVDCs, VApps, VMs are there in this particular org. Now, for example, I want to see a detailed VApp report across the orgs. I can go here and there will be a dedicated dashboard that gives me a list of all the VApps. I can filter and sort over here. CPU cost, CPU price, memory utilization cost, price, all the metrics are available. And this is something that you can sort, filter, and use at your convenience. The next is the compliance reports. So the compliance reports, in case you have available, your compliance reports will also be available as a part of this tile. Now let us see how do you enable the Chargeback plugin for your tenants as a service provider. You go into your VCD and go to something called as Customize Portal, which is a provider-only capability. And within this, you will be able to see something called as Operations plugin. And you have a capability to enable or disable this plugin. Currently, it is enabled, which is why you see a button to disable, but you can enable it from here and your tenants will be able to see the Operations plugin for themselves. Now let us learn how to see the operations view for a tenant or see the Operations Manager plugin for a tenant view, which is available within VCD. Here we go to VCD. We have the Operations Manager plugin that is enabled already. Here you see the homepage of the Launchpad that looks very similar to Aria Operations Launchpad, but with limited capabilities that are limited for the tenants. You have something called as Operations Overview that gives you a comprehensive summary of your infrastructure consumption and the number of VDCs, VApps, VMs, etc. How much CPU memory and storage is consumed. Then you have a view of your bills. If there are any bills generated, you can look at the alerts. So here are some of the alerts that you have received in a while. There are reports. If the provider has generated any reports for you as a tenant, you will be able to see them. Then there is a view of metric selector. You can go to the metric selector. For example, here org VDC, I can look at, say, for example, how much CPU is allocated, allocation percentage, and so on and so forth. There are a bunch of dashboards that are available here that you can access in order to see your CPU allocation utilization, memory allocation utilization, and ongoing price if that is enabled for you by the service provider as well. Now let us talk about how you can migrate all the chargeback capabilities or tenant app capabilities from the standalone VMware Chargeback product to Aria Operations directly. Here, what you have to do is you have to go to VMware Chargeback. You already need to have 8.10 or above version of VMware Chargeback. And then you need to migrate to 8.16, which is the new version. And a migration button will be available in the left nav, like you can see here. You go there and you can click on Initiate Migration. Now, as soon as you click on Initiate Migration, it will ask you whether you agree to migrate to Aria Operations, and Chargeback UI will no longer be available. And once you agree to the terms, it will start the migration. And eventually you'll start to see all the migration status getting updated from not started to complete, like you can see here. So once this is complete, you will no longer be able to use Chargeback capabilities within Aria Operations. Instead, within Chargeback standalone product, instead you will be using it in Aria Operations directly. Now, let us learn about how to do chargeback directly for vCenter or vSphere constructs. So you go into Aria Operations. You already have a capability for pricing policies for VCD like you saw. But if you look closely, I can show you that there is something called as VC pricing that is also available under policies now. This capability earlier used to exist under cost drivers and used to be called as a pricing tab. But now it is directly under policies so that you can take advantage of the other capabilities of policies like inheritance and many other things. So I go here, I can set up basic charges. I can do it basis CPU, memory, storage cost, which means that I don't want to think about how much I want to charge per unit CPU, memory, storage. I just want to add a 20% commission on CPU, which is 1.2 times the CPU cost, 30% commission on memory, which is 1.3 times the memory cost, 40% on storage, and 10% on additional cost. Or I can say that I want to do it basis the rate that I have already decided with my finance team that has a standard model. So I can say I want to charge $10 per vCPU per month, basis allocation, always or only when powered on. Memory, I can charge $5 per GB per month, basis allocation or usage. Memory, you can define for both allocation and usage. And storage, I want to charge $2 per GB per month. And additionally, I can charge for guest OS. Tags, for example, there are tags like Avamar backup equal to true, and I want to charge a $10 rate per VM that has Avamar backup per week. Always say, for example, and any VMs that have these tags will be charged accordingly. Then I can set up overall charges, like every time a VM is set up, I want to charge $40. Then there's a recurring maintenance and labor charge of $20, and the charge period is monthly. And I can save this pricing card. Now, assignment, we have already seen how we assign these pricing cards. I can go back to policies, I can go to policy assignment, and like I said, it will be available in the inactive policies. There's a vCenter pricing policy. I can assign this to a cluster or a vCenter. So I will go here. I will select a particular cluster from here, for example. Let us select this cluster and assign this to a pricing policy. I can only include this object or all child objects. Let's say only this object. Say confirm, and my pricing policy is assigned to this particular cluster. Now I want to see, okay, I have assigned this pricing policy. I want to see the chargeback report or the dashboard that is being generated. I can either directly go to home, I can see it from the cost page and see chargeback for vCenter. And I can see it for different objects. For example, let me try. So this is at a vSphere world level. I can try it at a data center level. For this data center, the pricing is so much. It is 0 over here because there's no pricing card. But if you have any pricing defined, your pricing metrics will be available. For example, overall at vSphere world level, you can see the month-to-date price distributed by VMs, powered off VMs, idle VMs, reclaimable VMs, and snapshots are available. Price details per VM are available over here. You can look at them one by one as well. So that is a brief overview of chargeback for vCenter. You can also access it directly from the bunch of dashboards. It is available under cost, consumer layer, chargeback, VM price. Now, let us learn about how we do chargeback for Aria automation constructs, which are projects and deployments. Let us go to Aria automation. We'll go to assembler. Infrastructure. And there is something called as pricing cards. So there is a default pricing card already created, but I'll create a new one over here. I can define a pricing rate card for project 1, for example, and create this pricing rate card. Now I can open this. I can set up the pricing parameters. Say, for example, I want to do a rate-based pricing, $3 per vCPU per week, $2 per memory per week, $1 per storage GB per week. I will not define anything for guest OS tags and other things for now. And I will just assign projects to this particular rate card and save. Now my pricing rate card is created and a project has been assigned to that rate card, or rate card has been assigned to a project. Now I want to see the pricing dashboard. In Aria automation, what you can also do in addition to dashboard is you can do upfront pricing. When you're provisioning a VM, you can know that how much will this VM be priced at. But let us just look at the chargeback report that is available in Aria operations to look at it in detail as to what each project and deployment is priced at. So in order to do this, I can go to dashboards. And go here into VMware Aria Automation. And there's a project pricing dashboard. So this will give me overall month-to-date price per project as well as per deployment. This is the rate card that is defined for it. Now let us talk about the chargeback for business applications or tiers. Let us go to Aria Operations. Let's see if we have pricing metrics or price metrics available for business applications or tiers constructs as well. I'll go to object browsers. I can select business applications. Say, for example, this one here. I'll go look up the price metrics here under metering. I see, yes, I see the total price, memory price, CPU price. The metrics are available. In case you have pricing defined, your pricing metrics will show up over here. Now let's talk about the chargeback capabilities or dashboard that we have for Horizon objects and constructs. Now here, if you go into dashboards, if you have a Horizon Management Pack installed or MP4H installed, you will by default be able to see the showback, chargeback, and ROI dashboards or cost versus price dashboard for Horizon. We'll talk about chargeback for now. Let's go here, Horizon chargeback. I can see the chargeback details for a VDI pool, for example. Here is the month-to-date price and the VM price distribution for this VDI pool. Not just for VDI pool, I can see the price details or chargeback details for my connection servers, RDS farms, users, sessions, and all the other key constructs of Horizon. Now let us learn how to do price analysis. I can go to plan, cost analysis, and there is a section for price analysis. I go to analyze price. I say compare vApps. And I can select an object type over here. So I say in VCD adapter, vApps. I can either select a scope. I can say, I can give it organization VDC or organizations, anything. I can say in org1, allow me to compare, or I can just leave the scope empty and run an analysis across all the VApps. So it'll give me top 10 VApps across my VCD instances. Now I can also run a comparison and select certain VApps of my choice over here and do a comparison based analysis as well.